10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
The Nhra made its return to the hallowed grounds of Indianapolis Raceway Park for the 68th running of the Dodge Power Brokers Nhra US Nationals on Labor Day weekend, and once again, the Big Go will make lifelong dreams come true and create forever lasting memories. After 25 years of trying and 25 years of frustration, Ron Capps will finally break through to score a win at the US Nationals, defeating points leader Robert Hight in the final round to capture win number 71 of his illustrious career and third on the season. Capps would also double up by winning the first ever Pep Boys All-Star Funny Car Call-Out on Sunday and the Big Go on Monday. In Pro Stock Car, Greg Anderson made history on the grandest stage of them all, when he would become just the fifth driver in NHRA history to break the century win mark, when he defeated teammate Dallas Glenn in the final round at Indy to score win number 100 on his career, joining John Forrest, Frank Manzo, Dan Fletcher, and David Rampey as the only drivers to do so. And in Pro Stock Motorcycle, reigning champion Matt Smith would score his second U.S. Nationals title, and first since 2006, when he defeated Karen Stouffer in the final round to capture his third win of the season and 35th of his career. And finally, in Top Fuel Eliminator, Antron Brown nabbed his fourth U.S. Nationals title when he edged out Brittany Forrest in the Great Top Fuel Final, scoring his second win of the season and 70th of his great career. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a special fast-paced recap of the 68th Annual Dodge Power Brokers Nhra US Nationals from Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park, brought to you by Competition Plus.
Oh, Bobby, man, what a historic U.S. Nationals it was. Personally, the most historic that I have seen in my lifetime, and definitely in person. What a great U.S. Nationals it was.
We were so whooped we couldn't even do a show last week.
Hey, you know, the Competition Plus team definitely put in the work. A notebook, it seemed like, for every class, video productions, you name it. Many of which, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see previews through this show of what you can see on the Competition Plus YouTube channel, which you definitely need to be subscribed to for all your legendary classic content and fresh, up-to-date content as well from the world of drag racing. Bobby, what in particular with this U.S. Nationals ranks at the top? I know it's hard to categorize a top moment, but which one?
Wow. I could say Will Smith's first ever Top Fuel run in national event competition. That would rank right up there. Robert Hight calling out Bob Tasca in the call out. Antron Brown winning Indy, special kind of way. Ron Capps winning Indy. Greg Anderson getting number 100. Matt Smith doing the old switcheroo and going to the winner's circle with the Buell. Oh my gosh, and Lyle Barnett, my favorite arguing partner, and he won the big one. I mean, it was just incredible. Pluchino in the Mountain Motor Pro Stock.
Right.
And of course, the greatest race of them all, McNeil Freeman winning V Stock, V as in Victor Stock Automatic.
And I believe we have that one right here.
Yeah, we
Let's take a
do.
look.
It is not often that the U.S. Nationals peaks on a Thursday morning, but frankly, that's what we're looking at right here. The only pair of V-Stock automatic cars on the property, a 1980 Mustang with a 4-cylinder in it, a 1987 Caprice with a 262 cubic inch V6 in it, and the taxi cab sign on top. McNeil Freeman out of Atlanta, Georgia, the retired electrician left lane. Dan Toole, the farmer out of Jacksonville, Illinois, driving the Mustang. Who will leave first? The answer is McNeil Freeman. Listen to that absolutely beautiful sound of 10 intermingling cylinders in 2 lanes as McNeil Freeman pounds his way to a 14.41.0 at 92 miles an hour. Dan Toole, 15.36.6, an ignominious defeat for Toole, but for McNeil Freeman, glory in V-Stock Automatic as the man will leave as the class champion of the U.S. Nationals.
Well, congratulations, Mr. Freeman, and that is drag racing at its finest. Yes.
Where else but Indy on Thursday will you see a taxi cab duke it out with a Mustang? Or
Yes.
picture wagon versus a Ford Ranger truck.
Oh man, that is awesome. That is awesome. Yes, you can live your dreams in drag racing at Indy and well, anything.
Hey, I wonder what
What's up,
class
guys?
of sand dune buggy will go into. Because I'm pretty close to getting one of those. So if I get myself a sand dune buggy, I'm going to come out and run like, I don't know, GT experimental altered or something.
There's probably a class. There's probably a class out there for it. Just Comp Eliminator. That's where everybody else goes, right? You can't figure it out. It's throw.
They'll have to spot me with a sundial.
Right, for sure. Well, Indy has great moments each and every year. This, again, might be one of the greatest that we have seen for a very, very long time. Sam, you were able to be there and attend and enjoy the U.S. Nationals. What are some top moments for you from the weekend?
Well, I mean, where do I even start? I mean, just being there, being down there, I mean, hands down was the highlight of it all for me, taking it in. There's so much when you turn that corner to come off of the highway and go down that long road, and then you turn right there by, I think it's Raceway Park or whatever the name of the street is, and there's a bunch of oil tanks, and you're like, am I really in the right place? And as soon as you make that right to turn in there, I mean, from Pro Mod being right there inside the gate to all the sportsman class racers being there, and just the traffic and dynamic that it was down in there. First day I went and parked inside the circle track and made the long walk into it. And usually, with having media credentials or anything like that, you don't have to do that. But I think experiencing that, walking by all the people that were, parked miles away, that was fun. Meeting up with some of the people, actually, and that's kind of funny. Dan Don just gets on here right now. Don Moore, he commented. Meeting him in person, we've talked multiple times via this show and via Messenger. He's asked a lot of great questions. Meeting the people that were out there this weekend. I keep saying this weekend.
Sam, I met
what?
Kroger Sucks 45.
You met him?
Well,
I met
that's
him.
it. Once you meet somebody that's named Kroger Sucks, everything's downhill.
Dude, where did you meet him? Where?
At the Cruise Petragon open house. Cool dude. But he walked up to me. He's like, I'm Kroger Sucks. I'm like, dude.
Yeah, there's honestly no other way he can introduce himself. Like,
no.
Like, who? So Kroger Sucks, whatever your real name is, like, you should just go by Kroger Sucks.
He said it, but he is forever Kroger Sucks 45.
Yeah, and as it should be. I mean, that goes down in history. Just like Don, I mean, he told me, I found out some stuff, and man, and then I met another good guy who's, back and forth on the show, but a drag racing, I think he's a drag racing super fan. His name is Chris, but everybody in the pits knows him as C Murder. No, he's not actually murdered anyone, but that's what we know him as. So, just awesome. And then I saw some, like, Lee, when I tell you, and I'm gonna send you the videos. But when I saw some of the craziest stuff that I've ever seen, and like what some of these drivers have to go through and live through on the day-by-day basis with some of the people, it is unbelievable. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Like, guys, these are real people. Like, let them live, let them breathe. That's all I'm gonna say. And then I was the reason why I was helping Antron Brown with some footage I'm just gonna say it, for YouTube stuff that he's coming out with, and to be a part of that. And I think I sent you the picture, Lee. I don't know if you can see it or not. But to actually hold my quote unquote first Wally, like, to actually hold it and to be a part of that, man, it's still surreal. Like it's unbelievable. And then you know what the best part was though? Walking by the Fathead trailer and seeing Sammy play music, and to get him to chuckle. So I stopped right in front of his stage because he was parked right next to Antron. And I just did a little simple dance, and to get him to break while he was singing and chuckle and have to start his song all the way over, I think that may have been like, that's up there. That's up there for me.
I didn't get a chuckle, but I got worked into the lyrics on one song.
No, I mean, I forget what song. Yeah, I don't forget what song he was singing, but I just stopped and I kind of went like this, and he like lost all focus. So I just saw him commenting.
So
Here,
Indy
I
definitely
just saw this
was
comment.
spectacular, and now we got to move on from Indy. What a great Indy we had! What a great Indy
No,
it was.
We can't.
Well, we got to move on. We got Reading, Pennsylvania this weekend, Maple Grove, and Bobby. Look, I haven't. Kyle Koretsky's been so busy. I've been trying to get him on my show. I've been trying to get him to answer an email. I'm like, come on, Kyle, but he's been busy. They've been stocking French fries. He put that little video out. So, what have you heard that the Koretskys have done to make this place ready to go for this particular national event rolling into Maple Grove?
Well, from what I hear, they've done a lot of work to improve the creature conference. As far as sprucing up the place, getting better sound system, adding items to the menu. And if you know the Koretskys, they love to eat like we do. We love to eat. And that's one of the things that they're really trying to do is really put an emphasis on the fan experience for the racetrack. And we all know that from Monday, Tuesday, whatever, that's NHRA's track. They start working on the racing surface. So there's not a whole lot they can do, but they can work on like the control towers, the timing towers, the media center. And I realize that those may not have any bearing on the average fan, but what does is better seating experience, better food, a place that generally looks good. I mean, you don't want to go in a place that looks like a rat's ass. You want to go into a place that looks really, really good. And what they're trying to do is build a slice of heaven outside of Reading, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, from what I have seen, like the towers look really good. I mean, maybe even if they just threw a fresh coat of paint on, they look the best they have in a long, long time. And I'm not going to be able to be there this weekend. I have other commitments, but I definitely want to see and hear from folks their impressions on what the Koretskys have done. They know how to do things right, and I expect things to be done right with the facility and it continue to be improved and be made into a greater place to have a drag race.
Are you sitting down, fellas? I actually have a weekend off.
Wow.
I guess there's something about a week in Indy that just kind of wears you down, but I'm still cranking out content from there that the team we didn't get in during the days that we were there. But I'll tell you one other thing they did. They got right with Mother Nature, God, and everybody. Because have you seen that weather forecast? Holy smokes. Holy smokes. That's the kind of forecast back in the old days you would have figured came after the day after they destroyed the track, turned it into a parking lot. That's the kind of forecast you'd see. But as far as as I can see, it's beautiful weather and fast weather.
Yes, I wonder if the whole 300 in the 8th mile falls this very weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
It definitely does.
I'm just going to say this. What Grubby, and Grubby said it straightforward. Did he not? I mean, he said, hey, we pretty much had to lay up against Steve because we didn't know, we had to qualify, so we had to lay up. But, with what they did and running 299.7. Like, I told some of the guys on their team, I said, guys, it's not gonna go just 300. Like, they're skipping 300. They're going 3-0. They're going 302, 305. Like, I mean, hands down. When I think if Grubby gets a hold of it, he doesn't just go 300. I think he goes 302 to 305. I mean, he's shooting at this point. If he's qualified, he's pretty much said we're shooting for it. And he said that in Indy.
You had me right up to the 302. I think maybe 301, a high 301, 302. Boy, that's really getting after it.
But I mean, he said it. I think he had it when he made that pass against Steve. He knew he did, but at the same time, he's like, okay, do we win this money and do we go for this, or do we simply just lay up and make sure we're in the field? And he blatantly admitted it. We had to lay up to make sure we were in the field.
I hope you're right. I swear to gosh, I hope you're right.
The next pass, boom.
That'd be great, man.
Do y'all think it is a event? We already stating, yes, we'll see 300 plus even. Do we see multiple 300s?
Three of them.
Three of them. Okay.
I'm saying three of them.
Three of them. All right.
Three of them.
I think this is the weekend. Like, the U.S. Nationals is totally. I mean, the big go is totally different. You know, everybody's worried about, okay, what's this weather going to come in? Do I swing for the fences? This and that. With these 5 chances, everyone was kind of suspecting, okay, what is Grubby going to do? He's got something in it. But the Davis Motorsports and Justin Ashley, I mean, came out what they did. I mean, no one was. He was running good all weekend, but no one was expecting that. You know, no one was expecting Justin to come out or Mike Green and Tommy DeLago to come out and do what they did. But if you watched them every pass, they were consistently getting better, and they were tugging away at it. Then they finally said, and you saw it right before they pulled into the burnout box. They pulled out the laptop. They made some changes. They did some changes on the wing and you know, fixed things and fine tuned it. And that's what happens. I mean, when you can consistently watch people go down the track, okay, this is happening. This guy is kind of breaking loose. The car is doing this. Go back and watch that pass that Justin made. That car is not going straight down the track. It is not on what we call an arrow run. That car is going left and right, and Justin drove the hell out of it. Now imagine if that car goes exactly straight down the track, like what we expect it to do on a pass like that. Would we be talking about Steve Torrance winning the Pep Boys, Justin Ashley winning that, and Antron Brown winning the race? I think we would.
Well, I guess I think it was last year in testing, we watched Justin Ashley and the team. They started working on their early times. You remember they had the real quick 60-foot times, and it was just a natural progression that they kept, amping it up. And you knew that was coming.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've definitely changed some things. We saw it early in the year. They were very aggressive out of the hole. And, with pictures that I have from earlier in the year with Arizona, I think both Justin Ashley and Antron Brown teams were both very aggressive. You could see the cars were really picking the wheels up at the beginning and then that big flex. And I think now that they've got that under control and are ramping in speed or taking out speed whenever they need to, I think we're at the time where the crew chiefs that have the experience and have the knowledge and are changing the right things. I think now this is that time that we always say it's playoff time. But they're bringing out, all year they're writing down on the regular, notepad But then all of a sudden they've gone back into that bottom drawer and pulled out that old composition notepad where the pages are a little bit wrinkly that they've wrote all the secret notes on. And I think that's where we're at. We're starting to see these crew chiefs that have had their hand in the game do what they need to do.
So we've had the reset going into Maple Grove with the points. Actually, we've got the largest pro stock countdown field ever with like 15 due to the qualifier into the countdown with, making the qualifying passes, attending every race. Which person out of the professional categories do you think is going to be that individual that, though they are like 8th, 9th, 10th, even back, makes a move at Maple Grove this weekend?
Well, the thing is I think NHRA needs to make a decision on the Tony Schumacher appeal really quick. You can't do this after one race has gone in, because I think that will affect his starting position. He dropped all the way to 10th, and I loved his quote in that article on Competition Plus where he said, "Go ahead and fine me 1 million points. I don't care. They're going to take them all away anyway." So the thing is that's looming out there, and I would expect a decision to come here in the next day or so, and hopefully before we get to Reading. I mean, it's got to. I don't see any way you can do that. But I think Schumacher's going to be a team to watch. I think that Justin Ashley and Brittany Force and Steve Torrance, all of those, they're going to stay up at the top and they're going to keep pounding. And I wouldn't be surprised if those are the three teams that get your 300-mile-per-hour run in the 8th mile in Reading.
Lee?
I think some people who've been knocking on the door a lot this year, and I don't mind going out on the proverbial limb, I think one of the Wdra brothers is going to make a move. I think they are prime. I think it's now the time. They know how to chop a tree down, and I think one of them makes a move. I'm not saying like a consistent move throughout the countdown, but this event may very well be the place and time to shine and make a mark.
I agree with that, Lee. I think there you have a good shot with the Wdra brothers. Like you said, I think that they've shown their, I don't want to say they've shown their deck, but I think they've shown their due diligence within the sport and with what's going on. I also think, and I think it shocked the world. I shouldn't say shocked the world, but I think Camry Caruso is going to be one. I think she's very hungry in the pro stock ranks. I think she's very hungry to, I don't even want to say get those wins, but to get out there and just prove herself. So I think that team is coming together fairly well, and I think she's just ready to prove herself to everyone.
I think they could use a stellar weekend. They haven't had bad weekends. The performance hasn't been bad, but things have cooled a little bit from earlier in the year, like the height of Houston. And we haven't had her in the lineup of the chat and the talk quite like she was there at one time. Granted, went through a grueling part of the schedule, coming up to the biggest race in the world for drag racing, and now it's time to get down to business. So, yeah, I think they could have definitely a good weekend and be the talk of the class once again. I can see that.
Yeah.
Now, do you think – now, Bobby, you mentioned Top Fuel, those three individuals, they being the first to pulling off those 300-mile-per-hour passes to the 8th mile. What if it's the session, though, that Funny Car goes before Top Fuel? do they even get a shot at it? Does Funny Car? Do you think someone like Robert Height can be that first individual to click off 300 at the 8th mile?
Anything's possible, but I think that your stronger sessions are going to be during the day, not during the evening. I think the daytime is going to be the right time all throughout. I don't think we'll have one person lay down the number one qualifying position on Friday. and it holds through Saturday. I mean, have you checked the weather forecast? That's just like cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Right.
That's like being right at the edge of that thing that has the quarters that moves back and forth and pushes them off. Oh, it's going to push a whole mother load off there.
Right. Yeah, Maple Grove seems to be a place that the conditions don't have to always be just so perfect for there to be record laps, and now we're apparently going to have so perfect conditions. It's going to be insane.
Better hold on to your bloomers.
Oh, yeah. But I'm going to say this. I mean, even Lee, you talked about, you said the pro soccer and everything else. But, I mean, we've and I admitted this to someone at the racetrack, and I'm just going to openly admit it. We've talked about how competitive classes have been all year, right? And I've gone and said that this year, the door slammer class has been very competitive. I still do believe that the greatest class of them all, Pro Mod, is still the most competitive class, as we saw here this past race. But I will say this: we do have the fastest fuel classes we've ever seen. Like, what continue? Yeah, and I'm not going to totally agree with you and say that top fuel is the most competitive class out there this year, but we do have the fastest fuel class. So I will admit that, because I told someone, hey, I got to admit this to Lee. He's right. So there you go.
I remember, I guess it was last year, the funny car class was like that NFL 100th anniversary commercial where they were tackling each other and beating each other up. One guy would get the football and the other guy knock him out. And that's the way the funny car class was last year.
Yes.
Oh, 100%.
For sure. And, I mean, what amazing performance at Indy. I know we've been talking about performance, Maple Grove, and what we're all looking forward to and what is looming, but wow, the quickest top fuel field ever of the 1,000-foot era. I mean, wow. That bump. What an insane bump. There are people who had record ETs in their career, and they did not qualify. Almost any other race this year, they would have qualified, but it was not enough at Indy. Again, I really think the sport is overall healthy. There's things we do have to work on, but that's every sport. That's any organization. But Indy was just doggone good.
It was an absolute awesome race. And all of a sudden, it didn't feel like I had been there a whole week when I left there. Now, when I got home the next day, yeah, I felt like I'd been there a week. But it was just an exciting race all the way around.
So we've wrapped up Indy. We're looking forward to Maple Grove. We've talked about, 300 mile per hour being knocked down and who might be those shockers to make some moves in the countdown early on. Any other thoughts from U.S. Nationals going into Maple Grove? Because we are close to getting our first guest on, Mr. Don Scott, representing the WDRA, World Drag Racing Alliance.
Did you guys talk about the new schedule?
We haven't.
But before we get there, I want to say I saw the craziest stuff happen. I was there when Julie Natasha. I was standing. Okay, this is how this happened. Like, weird situation, right? I'm standing at the starting line. Next to me is Leah Pruitt. Next to her is Tony Stewart. I'm standing there. We're watching Julie Natasha make the pass. Body blows off. Complete, utter what just happened, right? I looked over. Leah looks at me. Tony looks at me, and we all look at each other. And he goes, I've never seen anything like that before in my life. This guy's been on sprint car, everything. How she still managed to complete that pass right there. I mean, she, get the car settled down, not hit anything, and then have the, and then the Myers family drives a brand new body or backup body overnight to her, gets it there in the morning before first round, like unreal. And then she goes and sweeps the weekend. Like, pretty incredible.
Right. I mean, I've seen panels fly off of a drag car, but I've never seen that many of a dragster. But I've never seen that many panels fly off and it not be a blowover, actually. So it's very interesting that so many. And then she won on that pass, and the chute came out early too. I mean, there was some funky stuff on that pass.
But so I was asking Travis Shoemake about it later that night, and there was like pieces of the body in the wing. Like, could you imagine all the things that could have possibly gone wrong? But the chute flies out, and then the body explodes. Like, it's the big go for a reason. I mean, that stuff doesn't happen anywhere else.
There's a big go, and the body panels went.
That's right. That is right. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a break. And after the break, and we're also going to show you another final round from the U.S. Nationals. And look, be on the lookout for this commercial. You're getting a first-time glimpse of a brand new T-shirt coming out on Competition Plus Apparel. That's CompetitionPlusApparel.com, isn't it, Bobby?
Yes, sir.
All right, CompetitionPlusApparel.com. New T-shirt rolling out. You're going to see another final round from the U.S. Nationals. And by the way, the next guest coming up, Don Scott, I'm going to kind of step out just a little bit. I'll be around hitting the ones and twos, but I had him on my show Thursday night and grilled him. I didn't really grill him, but I know you two are and everyone else in the comments. So I'm glad that he is on and talking it up about the WDRA. Here we go. Break, or not break. We're going to do final of the U.S. Nationals, the next one of these, strange ones.
And once again, we got to run for the trophy. And once again, it is a very interesting battle. Travis Booth, the O-Stock Automatic 89 Mustang with a 302 in it, is taking on Marty Booth, an 83 Mustang with a 4-banger in it. The difference here is you may be sitting in the stand saying, how is this fair? Is that Booth's car is turbocharged. So the naturally aspirated 302 for Travis with the Johnson's horsepower garage side, or Marty Booth, the 4-banger with the Whistler on it here on the Dodge SRT side. It is all Booth all the time. And Travis is 002 to Marty's 102. But here comes a little turbocharged 4-banger. Marty Booth has already driven past the V8 powered Mustang and takes the win line. 12:05.6 at 108 miles an hour as Travis goes 12:59.5 at 104.
Hey, Don, welcome to the show, the Power Hour.
How's it going, guys? Man, I don't think I've slept since I was on Lee's show the other night. It's been a little bit crazy here the last few days or last week or so. So how's it going?
It's going absolutely great. Looks like you got a lot of stuff going on. So what is it that, let me see how I'm going to phrase this. Does one simply wake up in the morning and say, hey, I'm going to start a sanctioning body?
Oh, my God.
How does that happen?
No, that goes all the way back to my roots. 1970 Motion Raceway, Assumption, Illinois. I grew up there, spent my entire childhood there. And if you didn't see the show the other night, quick history for me, for the guys that it's the first time, seeing and hearing me talk, we ran cars. I still run a 90 car. We ran the junior dragsters the entire time. All 12 years that my kids were eligible through that. And it's always been in the back of my mind, even though I've been in another industry, to get involved at some level. And the last 2 years, I ran a small track near our home as an operator. And I think that gave me the history of, if we were going to do this as a sanctioning body and put this together, what would it need to look like? And how would you go about doing it? So no, definitely didn't wake up. It's been a dream since 1970. So I'll be 56 in March, and that's most of my adult life. So never believed it could happen. I also never believed that they would walk in my office and say, "Dad, we have officially broken the internet." And what that means, I mean, we've had so many hits on all these sites and all these different things that we have struggled to keep the pages running. So kind of amazing. I can't believe the outpouring that's happened. And I think it solidifies why we're doing what we're doing. And the reception is part of putting together the right team to do this. So
where do you aspire to take? No, go ahead, Sam. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Bobby.
Where do you aspire to take this? I know that the Ihra in the last few years had been a sportsman only, but do you have aspirations of one day bringing professional drag racing with door slammers and fuel cars and everything in?
Man, I'm a foundation guy. The first thing we have to do is solidify our tracks. I mean, I think that's the number one theme. As a guy that walked into a small racetrack, I walked into that scenario because it was in trouble. It had actually closed twice in the last 3 years. And getting those things solidified and unified, I think has to be the building block on any program or anything that we put forward. So step one are getting the tracks in place. And step two, as I said the other night, is having something of value for our racers. I mean, I've been in that sportsman racing arena for a long time as a competitor. And, you know, I just think there's a better job that we can do to putting value out to those guys.
So with this announcement, and you just stated it, you felt like you broke the internet. I mean, I think we've all, inspired to do that with a story that's been written by Competition Plus, or with this podcast, or, a video that I put on YouTube, or something that Lee does. For someone that's actually doing it, this announcement's obviously very huge. How does it feel to know that instantly you captured the eyes and attention of millions with this announcement?
It's not a product of anything that I'm doing. It's about putting the right guys together and truthfully pouncing when the opportunity's right and the market's asking for something. Again, we've done that in the medical device industry, and now it's time to focus that energy on this one. I think, one, it's always been worth doing. It's worth doing with excellence now. So I don't think anything that's competitive out there has close to the vision that we do in the business plan to move forward correctly. But that business plan, there's absolutely no way I could write that on my own. If you look at that advisory board and the guys I am very blessed to deal with every day, they have a vision for drag racing. And to be able to be part of that, I just get to be the guy that gets on TV. So it's a lot of group of senior guys that are putting together what we all see as the future of this sport. And the culmination is me getting to be on these programs.
I saw your lineup of tracks, and it's a pretty strong lineup of tracks that at one time, or I'm not sure how the dynamics of it all, but they are listed as IHRA tracks. What was your point to get these tracks to follow your vision?
Man, again, if we had a 4-hour program, we've written out a complete business plan of what we think the future of racing is. And we could spend literally, we spent the last month putting that together and making sure before we went live that it made sense. And every one of our guys had input on what that business plan needs to look like. I condition it to no different than a building project. The first thing you do is put together the business plan. If the bank likes it, they loan you the money. So I think the reception that you're seeing as a result of a plan moving forward. And on this, you guys are going to be the first ones. I had to take a yellow legal pad because I had so many announcements tonight from just a few days ago. So that business plan is now in play. The initial stuff's done. We have enough tracks to announce a lot of things tonight.
So are you going to try to have a national event schedule, or are they just going to be regional races? I mean, how is that dynamic? I mean, what are you doing with this schedule to make sure that you put butts in the stands in addition to cars in the pits?
Yeah, so we have to put butts in the stands. Again, I've been sportsman racing forever, and we've got to get creative with that, and I think we have a killer plan to do that. Announcements for tonight that I think are important: regional finals, national finals. Those things are going to happen. You'll qualify for the national final direct if you're one of the region, if you win your track's points. I am going to step out tonight and tell you, irregardless of what happens, we have enough support, enough racetracks that I am guaranteeing that $200,000 prize money, and we're going to race for it if it's just with the ones we have. So that business plan is going to be built out of all those things you talked about. I think we start with how these are going to look and solidify for everybody that the programs they know are already in place and they're going to move forward much better. Bracket racing is the key, and it is the foundation for everything that we're talking about. Sportsman racing is alive and well. It just needs a little bit of an oversight from an organization to put it all together. My expertise and the thing that I'm going to bring to the table that's not been here for, in a lot of these different scenarios, and it's not blaming anybody, is how to drive that sponsorship. We work in a highly competitive space called orthopedics, and we have to go get sponsors on board. We have to know to correctly market, but that starts with having value for those companies. And again, it goes right back to having a power statement and a value statement for both the tracks and the racers. This isn't rocket science. It's just putting it together correctly.
Sam, you want?
I think there is a great question coming in from someone, and that is going bracket racing. He says, what separates the WDRA from NHRA and IHRA, and why should racers and tracks choose the WDRA?
The best thing I would tell them is that for 2023, and we announced this on Lee's show the other night, we are going to accept both of those other licenses. So if you come to a WDRA facility and we prove to you and show you that it's different and it's moving forward, I think we show you that. What separates us from NHRA and IHRA, I think, is the business plan of how important the foundation of bracket racing and sportsman racing is in our business plan. Again, I don't know what the current other sanctioned plans are for those things going into next year. I know that the time was right for us to present our plan. And again, that a lot of that's going to come out tonight. When you're going to see things happen, we're going to guarantee a series. I'm going to guarantee the money. And, there's a lot of other details that I've had a lot of questions from racers. Where can we sign up? Where do we go? All that stuff, in my opinion, that minutia stuff needed to go through and just get cleaned up. It's why do cars not have licenses? Because it's not the easiest user-friendly thing to get one. So we've got to get legal on board to tighten that process up and make it so that most people enjoy our insurance and they become part of it. Legal told us today we can let anybody come from an NHRA and IHRA and race at our tracks. They still need to fill out a form and get it under our insurance, and we need to collect $1. And if we do that, then we are legal, moral, and ethical for them to be under our insurance plan. And I said this the other night. I didn't even know. We raced our kids all over the country with NHRA licenses. Until I got involved in this, I didn't even realize when we're at an outlaw track, we're exposed. When we're at a track that doesn't have proper insurance, we are exposed. So putting that all together and getting that education out to racers, I think leads to that value. It's not $100 that you have to spend every year. There needs to be something for them of value instead of that. So that's our offering. It's pretty straight going forward.
Back in the early 70s, we had 3 sanctioning bodies. We had the NHRA, the American Hot Rod Association, the International Hot Rod Association. And those 3 at any given time was like a bunkhouse stampede in wrestling, fighting, arguing, everything. Do you see the same thing happening, with 3 sanctioning bodies?
I'm too late in a career for that, guys. That's not something we're interested in. we would work with any of those guys. I mean, I'm old enough to know I actually ran the roller starter when Don Garlitz was at Motion Raceway. So I'm that old, and I'm way too late to have in life to have the energy for an argument. So we're going to present a value statement. We would work with anybody, anyhow, to continue the sport of drag racing, and there will be no negative connotation from my team or myself, period.
Very, very good. You know, you were talking about that you had a plan, and from where I live here, 5 miles from my house is the 295 Sports Complex. Some of the best softball and all kinds of competition out there. But when it came to people just coming just to watch those games because of the talent, do you see how do we make your program as great as it promises to be a fan sport?
So, I mean, if we go back to the foundation of what do we need first of all to start with the racetracks and make sure that we have the correct sponsors to run the programs that we're trying to run. What makes people want to come to the racetrack? I mean, in my opinion, it has a lot to do with that experience. So the problem that I don't think anybody's looked at is we need to make sure that we have maximized the sponsorship involvement and that we make it easier for the tracks to do the things that we want to do. I mean, I got to spend some time today with Carl Blanton from MoCan. And one of the things we talked about was making it easier for racetracks to get information. Something is silly for me at Central Illinois Dragway. I want to have 2 jet cars on a Saturday night. It's approximately 1,500 calls for me to figure all that out, when Carl has that in his Rolodex and could share it today. I think there's a way to do a better job to get people into the stands with the information that some of these premium track operators have. So we want to make sure that we're the safekeeper of that, and that we can make sense of it in a format to get it to everybody across the country.
So when you look at, your schedule and what you plan on doing, I know, across the board, there's a need to promote younger drivers in our sport and get the younger people in our sport. Do you have any ideas or plans of, youth shootouts or, high school night or, anything like that to promote the younger generations to get involved and be involved at the races or your program?
You guys are going to bait me into the junior dragster talk right now, aren't we? I can go back to Central Illinois Dragway and what we did at the end of last year. We went to our sponsors and we said, here's what we'd like to do. We have a track that if there are 200 cars there, the sheriff's there to tell us we have too many people there. So what we decided is we wanted to have a junior dragster event off the chart. And in the course of just a few weeks, we had 0 entry fees for all the kids to come run. And we had about a $5,000 purse put together for those kids. So when you ask me what the future of this is or how it is, every one of those things, if we always say, what's the future of drag racing? If the kids aren't involved, we're not going to have this. The next step is that teen program. And we ran that program at our track the last 2 years. And I physically myself, I'll bet you I licensed a dozen guys and rode in those cars to make those passes with those kids. So I think it's about making the process easier for everybody to get involved in that, and sponsoring understanding. I'm going to throw out a bold statement. I would absolutely love for the junior dragsters on several events to not have to pay entry fees to get in. And that's going to require some sponsorship help. We can't lay that on the track operators, but somebody like me's got to have the vision to go out and sell that to somebody and why they would want to get involved in this sport. Those kids bring family with them. I mean, when we went, it was like a posse. I mean, we had both grandpas, we had everybody together with us doing that same thing moving forward. So I would love for us to be able to do that in a group setting and move forward.
With NHRA downsizing each year with their schedule, their national event schedule, I believe will be down to either 20 national events in 2024. It seems like that might open up some dates where you could possibly book in some nitro cars for match races, bring back match racing. Is that something that has crossed your mind?
So we actually brought in a fuel car and we brought in a fuel front engine dragster and match raced them, and we filled our place. So I think a lot of that has to do with, there's so many forms of racing going on today. I don't think our smartest play is to take on a national event scene and trying to run fuel cars around the country. This is a bracket racing organization, and the foundation for that, in my opinion, needs to be built around just that. So all those aspirations, and again, I've been hit with everything, big money bracket racing with, all of the small tire grudge, all those different things. I think, are we going to run super stock? Is there a stock block class? How are we going to do this or that? I think the first step that we should do is solidify what we are and what we are moving forward. And then every one of those things warrants a conversation. But I think it's premature to say that, yeah, we're going to run 15 events in 2023, because I can't deliver that. We don't have that part built out. We need to get solidified on what we're doing today, and then look at what other opportunities and how to run a racetrack. I will tell you, other things were successful at our track and some things weren't. So as we go around the country, we need to find the same group of experts in all of those fields that we found with this bracket racing advisory council, and bring them in to help us with that if that's a growth area. And I think that's the best way to run this business plan. It's almost proven that with what we've done in the last few weeks.
I think that the series that can master how to do a 3-hour show to bring in the fans and still be able to race their sportsmen and everything all day long, I think that's the one that's really going to clean up at the box office. So with that said, I think, just as you said, I don't think a 15 race series would be in anybody's best interest, but a killer 8 to 10 race series somewhere in there, or maybe even a 7 or 8.
So we ran a 2-race series, and we had Joe Lay and his street cars come in. And it was a foundation. The foundation of the track was bracket racing and a sportsman series and getting to our finals. I mean, that's what we all live for. But those were some pretty cool nights when those guys came in and become an adjunct part of the program we were already running. We were able to put butts in the seats, as you said, and it didn't hurt us to be able to sell a hot dog and a bag of licorice to make that all make sense at the end of the night. So I was trying all that stuff to make sure of how this fits, but I don't want us to get away from the meat and potatoes of what this needs to be and solidified first. And that's why I think it's important that we guarantee that race-off final, that national final at the end of next year, and those purses being guaranteed like the guys are used to.
So, Don, I want to springboard from Pat's question. He says, clean bathrooms is what would bring my wife back to the track. Now, I think that is a bit more of a track-specific question and matter, but it does bring up in my mind, if you're a motel and you're under the umbrella of, let's say, Choice Hotels, there's certain standards you're supposed to uphold to keep under that umbrella. What are standards and what are points of measuring in a track that a sanctioning body like the WDRA has over a track to say, yes, you can be a part of us because you're to this level?
Yeah, so awesome question. And that's the last day and a half of my life. And it's been working with the insurance carrier to publish and list a set of those things right there for our racetracks. If we're going to be under this umbrella, we have to make sure that the fries are the same everywhere we go. So yeah, the safety is premium, and the insurance requires so many things that cheat sheet will be so much better for us to distribute and say, here's the roadmap. The bathrooms have to be clean, and there has to be foam there, and there has to be an SFI guy, and there has to be all these different things. That can't be an ish. That has to be a standard. And I watch series and I watch racers, and I spend a lot of time watching racing on TV, and we call them fuzzy pants. I mean, I see guys getting into those cars, and I think what we can't be is putting guys in peril without a set of rules that are clear and concise that we expect our tracks and our racers to follow. That's what a sanctioning body does, is put out what those expectations are, and we simply ask that we follow them. It's for everybody's safety. I mean, again, I've spent my entire life in surgery, and I've seen the back end of what happens on the hold my beer deal. It doesn't end well. So for us, you're going to see those things. The problem is I can't get them out faster than we can get them. I mean, we're peddling that. That was yesterday, my entire day, is to get those organized. Now they got to go through legal, and now they're going to get distributed. So the tracks have clear direction on what that product should look like if we're going to be a professional sanctioning body. And that's been at the input of tracks all over the country that have been part of making sure that standard is met everywhere we go. You guys are asking, I mean, these are all things that are coming up that are really important. And when you ask what's different, that stuff, I mean, this was real easy to say, hey man, you were at a track when you were a kid, let's start a sanctioning body. That'd be cool. But the minutia of this, it's pretty daunting to put it all together and get it out timely. So that's why, you know, we had racers ask about when can they sign up? We had, when are you going to have a rule book? We will have every piece that we need to go on 1/1. And that doesn't give us a lot of time. But, you know, when I grabbed a rule book last year at my little track and I had it in my pocket and I had a junior saying, can I run without a nose cone? Man, I was a 2-year track operator. There was no Ghostbusters to call. I had to look in that thing. So what we're trying to do right now is organize it in a way that they're pretty standard industry things that are in one of those rule books. I mean, it's not like we're earth-shattering creating science there, but I do think there's potentially a better format that we could put it in so that if we have an issue, we could go right to it very readily and say, we're not trying to look at it on somebody's phone in the pitch dark. Well, both guys are full of emotion and everybody wants to fight me as the track operator. So, you know, those are things that we're trying to get our hands around. So, but that stuff, again, for any racer or track that's listening, all of the collateral will be ready to go. I promise you on 1/1 when we're ready to go racing. And again, the fairest I can be is to make sure anybody with a license runs it until it expires. At that point, if I've done enough for you to get a WDRA license, then we've earned that business. But carrying 3 licenses, I don't think anybody wants to do that.
Gotcha. Well, Don, we appreciate you coming on the show, and thank you for walking the gauntlet with us, throwing stuff at you there. I know we weren't exactly easy at times, but you handle it like a true veteran, and we're so very proud that you joined us here on the Power Hour. Sam, you got anything you want to throw in?
Thank you, guys. Just one last thing in closing, and I know better than the internet to read a lot and follow that, but I do look at every comment that's posted, and I look at everything that's said. And there is one thing that I want to make sure that everybody listens to my voice. The guys on our track advisory board, that is an unpaid. There is no gauntlet. They do not own any portion of my organization. And you guys can look that up if you go on the Illinois Secretary of State. Those guys are doing that to move this sport forward. And I can't tell you about the amount of information that they have provided to me. So I just want to clear that up. If anybody's questioning that, those guys are not paid. They are doing that for the betterment of this sport. And again, thank you guys for letting me be here, man. Anything that I can do, and I said this, I even put my phone number out for Lee. If you guys have questions about what we're doing, I'm probably sitting on a business plan of why we're doing it. Call me. So.
Sounds good. Well, Sam, you got anything else you want to throw in there before we go?
No, I mean, I think the biggest things, and I think they've been answered. You know, people just want to know what, you know, if you guys are running quarter mile, eighth mile, but you said you're going to try to integrate, you know, a lot of what's going on, the small tire, the big tire, the junior. So I think at this point, everyone's got a million questions. Okay, what's next? What's going to happen? What's going to be announced? So I think, you know, we're at the point now where we just need to kind of, we've talked to you now. We've seen, you know, that, hey, he has a business plan. He has a group of people that are surrounding him, and they all are for the betterment of the sport. So I think now we just give you a little bit of time and just see what rolls out and see how we as media, as fans, and as spectators can help you grow the sport even more. And I think, you know, with having a new sanctioning body and organization come in, it's only for the betterment. It challenges every one that's there before you and anything that comes after you. So it's all about moving that needle forward. And I think it's a great idea.
Well, Don, look, thank you for coming on another show and talking more about the WDRA. And folks, if you want to hear more, you can even check out my show from last Thursday night, Between the Slicks, on the Monday Morning Racer platform. Don, thank you. Bobby, thank you. Sam, thank you. But we need to thank Weldon Pumps. And right after the break, and looking at another final round from the U.S. Nationals, Mr. Mike Ashley. Thank you, Don.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night. Thank you.
Here we go, first parents eliminations. It's the Mopar Heavy Shootout. Kimberly gets away with a better reaction time, but his car just a little bit lazy down low. By the time they got 100 feet, Mom was out in front. He goes 8:55. That's better than he qualified. Just stop him. Letting him get off the starting line first is probably not a good step.
That is not a good start.
Number one qualifier is moving on.
41.
841, 160 miles an hour, and he lowers low ET of the event for Bucky.
Oh my goodness.
By 16 thousandths of a second, he takes one of the quicker cars and puts it in the trailer himself.
51.
851, 157 to speed, not good enough. Pastor did not make a decent run. Gets down there, but he got the win. Here in the first.
Yeah.
I figured you were in the seat in the first.
No, I've been there. No. No, I've been there one of them.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was that many.
It is a pretty incredible thing to think about. 21 times this has been pulled off.
Mike Ashley, Mike Ashley.
Hey.
Welcome
What's
to the
happening,
Competition Plus
guys?
Power Hour. And also welcome to the show. And it's planned. It's not just a pop-in moment. It's actually planned, scheduled. It's good to have you.
What an honor. Thank you for having me. And thank you for calling me Mike Ashley. I'm usually Justin's dad. I feel honored to be back to myself.
But before we go any further, Mike, I need you to explain your raw emotion
oh no.
in this clip right here.
I love it. Mike Green, Tommy DeLago, let's go. What do you think that raw emotion is? We just went to number one qualifier. We went low ET, reset the track record, and this is all before Grubnick and Brittany decided to come out and run some kind of crazy number the next day, but we won't even talk about that. But you know what? That video reminds me today is a special day. You know what today is? It is Mr. 300 Jim Epler's birthday today.
Happy
happy
birthday,
birthday,
Jim
Jim.
Epler.
Let's hear it for Jim.
Happy birthday.
Yes.
You can't ask for a bigger fan of the sport. The guy has contributed so much. So very grateful for Jim on our team. And I'm sure he's contributed so much to the sport in general. He's got such a huge fan following, being Mr. 300. And now coming back with the club that he's created through Phillips Connect, along with Phillips Connect. It's just, for me, it's his birthday. It's just also, the whole thing is happening all at once. Can you imagine that it's his birthday today and we're on the eve of Maple Grove, where there's a very good chance that somebody's going to go 300 miles an hour. I know you guys were talking about it earlier.
Yeah. Very good chance. Very good chance.
Man, I'm just glad he didn't have the video of you driving the rental minivan back in Memphis that time.
Oh, God. Bobby always has to bring up all these things.
Hey,
Come on, Bobby.
nobody loves you like that.
I love you, buddy,
It
but
was
come on.
epic, man.
It was epic. Listen, you got to enjoy life. You only live once, and you know what? Rental cars, they were meant to be beat on by NHRA racers. That's the bottom line. I don't know an NHRA racer who hasn't been on a rental car. And if they haven't, then you know what? They shouldn't have their license to race NHRA. That's the way I feel about it. If I owned a rental car place, I'd never rent a car to an NHRA driver, crew chief, none of them.
I'm not going to go into much detail because Mike just absolutely just disgusts him when I do. But Mike, guys, you know him as Justin Ashley's dad, but I remember him as one of the most natural drag racer drivers out there. He just kind of, but I'm telling you guys, if you had the pleasure to watch him as a driver, you would have been in awe like I was. So,
well, Bobby, thank you. I appreciate it, but you know what? It's not about me. Right now, it's about, oh my God, I cannot believe it's the countdown, and I cannot believe. I know you guys want to talk about all the other classes, but I'm here to talk about Top Fuel. I cannot believe the Top Fuel class. I know Sammy thinks Pro Stock's all this badass. No, can you say ass on here? I think you can. All this badass stuff and everything. Like, are you kidding me? Look at Top
Fuel. I admitted
Fuel.
it today.
I
admitted it today.
What is the matter with you? All these cars are bunched up. 71, 72, 69, 68. It's like, it's crazy. It's like Pro Stock in Top Fuel. Look how close it is. It is incredible. And you know what? You got to hand it. And Jim Epler made this point many times this year. The crew chiefs, they are just amazing. Yeah, that's me and Jim talking. We're looking at Justin's reaction time. We're like, oh, yeah, maybe he needs to work on a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. But when you look at we always look at the funniest thing is, by the way, Jim Epler the guy is so knowledgeable. We stand on the starting line, and seriously, the guy tells me everything that happened on the run. And when I get back to the trail, that's basically what happened. It's like, I think I put a cylinder out at like 680 feet. It's like, that's exactly when I put a cylinder out. And he knows the cylinder that went out. Or he's watching like the light. He can tell if Justin cut a good light. It's just amazing. But back to my point, the Top Fuel class this year is incredible. It really is. And hats off to these crew chiefs, all these crew chiefs. They are doing such an incredible job. And let's make this point. The crew members that make the whole thing work. Yeah, the crew chiefs make the calls, but the crew, the entire crew, these guys are like, they are professional athletes in my mind. They are working in 100-degree weather, against all kinds of elements. NHRA is like, you got to turn the car around in 55 minutes for TV. These guys are basically passing out, and they've got to get every single thing right that they do. They can't get anything wrong, because if anything is wrong, the whole run's out the window. I mean, let's face it, not only is winning or losing a round on the line, but just, the driver's life is on the line, everything. And so you have these guys that are just so incredible. So when you put it together, you look at the crew chiefs, you look at the crews, and, the drivers all together. I think Top Fuel is so tough this year. It's so great. It's so interesting. It's just, I can't remember the last time, I've heard so many like, oh my God, I can't believe that. That's unbelievable that person just ran that, or this is the bump, or this reaction time. Look at the reaction time ET combos at the U.S. Nationals. I mean, Justin had a 36 light in the first round and got left on. How about that? I mean, just competition is just incredible. Best Top Fuel to me. Since I'm racing, this is the toughest Top Fuel class I've seen.
Mike, is it a matter of now you're thinking you're lucky stars you're not racing right now to have to face against the competition that they are? Because I've actually read your lips on that photo that you were talking to Jim saying, wow, I'm glad we didn't have to race against him back in our time.
It's funny that you say that. But the truth is, I'm glad I don't have to drive right now, because it is tough. It is tough out there. And you know what? Like, again, it's not only just the drive. Well, let's look at the drivers, for example. Sean Langdon, guy is just badass. Okay. My son, I know he's my son, but he is badass. I would not want to have to face my son at all, ever. because for him, every run is the same. It doesn't matter. He treats them all the same. If you know the way he is, you guys know him. He's just unaffected. He's not going to get up and down. It's just he is who he is. I want to face him. You look at Antron. I mean, how about that epic win at the U.S. Nationals? I mean, what a great driver. What a great spokesperson for our sport in general in Antron Brown. He is the consummate. And I'm proud that Justin, he looks at Antron as his role model. And he should. Because Antron's just great on the track, off the track. But Antron, Josh, all these guys, Doug Coletta, it's just the list goes on and on and on of drivers. Mike Salinas, Brittany, all of them. They're all so good. And then you look at the crew chief lineup, and they're also good. And it's like, these last 6 races is going to be a shootout. And then on top of it, Phillips Connect, and God knows I love them. It's an incredible company. I'm more familiar with them than anybody really on this conversation anyway. And they're just an incredible company, the culture and everything about them. How about the fact that they get involved in drag racing this year, and then they decide to continue, and they get so involved that they actually step up and sponsor another historic milestone, like 300 miles an hour in the 8th, which to me is just incredible to think that Jim broke that record 30 years ago almost, and now you're actually able to do it in half the distance. To me, that's just unbelievable. So you have the countdown, you have now the 300 to the 8th. It's such an exciting time to be an NHRA fan, to be an NHRA driver, to be a crew chief, to be a crew member, to be on a team. It's just, I just think it's incredible. And coming out of the pandemic and everything that everybody went through, the drag racing community deserves this. We do. So it's going to be great. Next 6 races for sure. The countdown is going to be, I can't even imagine. And not only that, it's not only 10 cars. You got Clay Millican, Austin Prock. These guys didn't make the top 10. Don't fool yourself. Those are badass cars, badass drivers. Everybody knows Austin Prock's ability to drive, Clay Millican's ability to drive, and their crew chiefs, their ability to tune. They're all going to be going for that historic. It's history. It's history to run 300 in the 8th. They're going to be going for that. From the crew chief perspective, it's going to be history. Think about it, especially the crew chief. Yeah, the driver drives the car, but Jim made this point. It's the crew chief that's making the decisions. So they're going to be going for that, and for that 300 in the 8th, and they're also going to be going for the win. So it's just a great time to be in NHRA drag racing, and especially Top Fuel.
Mike, there was a time. Oh, there it is. That's the bad car. Bad to the bone right there. The Pepto-Bismol wing, dude.
Oh, come on.
Hey, a lot of people, Sammy's said often that the best class in drag racing is pro modified, and I would like to recognize Mike as one of the pioneers of that class. Actually, the very first #1 qualifier in pro mod history.
Okay, all downhill from there.
Let's get back from Top Fuel. Back in the days in the 90s, had a few. I'd say we had maybe could make a back in.
Is that Bobby?
Bobby, stop.
Bobby, you're breaking up.
Yeah, you're breaking up. We're going to start over again.
Tell you whether heads are okay. Are we set now?
We got
maybe 4 or 5 drivers that could make a run down the track, see a quarter on the racing surface, and tell you whether it's heads or tails. Now you probably got 2 handfuls of drivers that can do that. Do you think that that's the game is up that much in Top Fuel?
So, Bobby, I really want to answer your question. The problem is that I don't think anybody heard it because you were breaking up. Lee, did you guys hear that question thoroughly? I didn't hear it. Can you rephrase it quickly?
Oh,
He's still breaking up. Is that
Oh man, Bobby's breaking up bad here all of a sudden.
Bobby?
Might
We
have
can't
to
hear you.
drop him out.
Yeah, Bobby. Yes, I'm gonna kick you out of your own show, but come back.
Hey guys.
Well, hey, again, as always, thank you. But I have to ask this question for you. Seeing this, like you just mentioned, how composed Justin is and how he takes it. Good run, bad run, what he should do different. He's always learning. What do you think it is that promotes that in him, and who does he get that from, mom or dad?
You're putting me in a bad spot here because I know nothing good comes from me. So now I have to try and figure out where it's coming from. Justin has always been into sports, always. And sports teaches you discipline. He's played football, baseball, basketball. And I think sports is the best thing you can do for kids, to be involved with sports. And this continues, in drag racing. So he got a lot of discipline from that. But kind of growing up around me and around the racetrack, and I had great teams. My team with Chuck Ford when I ran Pro Modified was incredible. We won 2 world championships, and I was so blessed to have that team. And then when I ran Funny Car with Brian Karate and Mark Oswald and those guys, and I was blessed to have that team. And I think Justin kind of picked up on my leadership and the way I felt about things at that time, because we spent a lot of father-son time together traveling to the races. He went to a lot of the races with me. And, he knew that, the one thing we were never going to do was try and beat anybody ever, that we could only run as fast as we can run in our own lane every time. And that we just expect to win every race and every single time, every run. It doesn't matter if it's qualifying. It doesn't matter if it's race day. Our team always expected to win every single time. And if we didn't, we wanted to know why we didn't. It was, for us, like, why didn't we win? And so I think the idea that, and this is something I told Justin when he, started his own, I think the idea of thinking that emotion has, for me, my opinion, emotion has anything to do with being successful in drag racing, I don't subscribe to that. I think the people who can have no emotion, this is a mechanical sport, period. You can operate on instinct, but it's a mechanical sport. It's you aim the car, you see the light, you go. That's it. And that car, the best thing you could do is aim the car and keep the car straight. That everything else up to the crew chief. That's what he has to do. And to maintain his composure and not get high and not get low and just do the same thing every time. I told Justin early on that the best advice that I could give him is that every single run is the same thing as testing. Every run, to treat it that way. That it doesn't matter if it's for all the marbles. If this one run is going to decide the world championship or if it's the first run of the season. Either way, you want to win it. So you got to have the same exact attitude either way. If you get all hyped up, tense, consider what's on the line, none of that is going to help you. So I think that's the way Justin kind of operates. I'm sure that he's human and still, he's affected by the fact that he could be on a big stage, this, that, and other things. But in general, I think he's able to maintain his composure and be maybe less affected than I would have been maybe even, at that particular period of time when I was racing years and years ago. So his ability to just treat every run the same way, as if it's just another test session run, is what keeps him consistent. And of course, the final thing, which is never make the mistake of thinking that you're a winner for winning, or a loser for losing. You're neither. You are who you are, and you either won a race or you lost a race, and that's it. And you can either learn, you're going to learn from it and move on. Don't dwell on it. And so, we go through a lot of stuff. He and I talk a lot about the mental side of things because I think that's the most important thing is, keeping your emotions in check. By the way, especially, I'll just finish by one thing, especially when he is so fortunate to be surrounded by such an incredible team. I mean, Dustin Davis, his partner in the race team, Justin and he are partners. And, Justin does his job, which is to drive the car and to, make sure it's funded and bring, and get it sponsored and raise money. And Dustin's job is to run the team. And I think this is a great example of both sides doing a great job. I really believe that. And so to just say for a minute here, Dustin has done an incredible job at assembling an incredible team and leading that team. It's not enough that he just put together a really, really good team. They're a good team. That is Justin's team and Dustin's team. That is a really good team. He has shown himself incredible leadership, and so has Mike and Tommy. And when you put all of that together, I just wouldn't want to have to race them. That's the truth of the matter. Really, really, really good. I'm really proud of both Dustin and Justin for what they've been able to accomplish.
Bobby, can we hear you now?
I think so. I hope so.
Okay. Yes, we've got you back.
We got you, buddy.
We were talking about the level of talent in driving, and I'm not saying that the drivers of the 1990s weren't talented, because they very well were, but you had some that took it to the next level. For instance, they could make a run, spot a quarter laying on the track, and tell you whether it was heads or tails. And whereas you might have had 5 of them back then that could do that, now you got 10 that can do that. I mean, Mike, how tough is it to race in a atmosphere of that much competition?
Well, I wish I could tell you, but I'm not racing in that atmosphere. Justin is. But what I will say, and I'm glad I'm not, what I will say, though, is honestly, back then, it was really hard. I mean, you can ask Jim. He ran funny car just like I ran funny car. There was a lot of fire, a lot of it blowing up. Technology was we didn't have as much technology back then when we could see things that we see now. And there wasn't as much kind of preventative equipment on these cars. There was no crew chief shutoff when they saw a cylinder out. None of it. You leave it to a driver, there could be 7 cylinders out, and we're still trying to get to the finish line. It doesn't matter. So, at the end of the day, back then, Bobby, while I understand your point, there was a lot of blow-ups and, smoking the tires, grabbing the brake, trying to get the car down the race. There's a different kind of skill level involved than there is now. And I'm not saying that it's not tough now, because it is. But it was just, I think the best thing I could say is it was just different. It was different. And both then and now is very, very hard. Although right now, to me, this is the toughest it's been from a performance standpoint, from a crew chief perspective, and crew perspective and driver perspective. For me, this is the toughest it's been, really. I don't know. Can you name a year that it's been as tough as this?
Nope.
And then you go and you reset the points and you start everything over again. And it's like, okay, here you go. Here's a bunch of cars who are basically grouped within 120 points of each other or so, more or less, right? And it's like, okay, forget about the rest of the season, because it's a whole brand new 6-race season right now. So, I think, and then, like I said, the 8th, don't discount how important this Phillips Connect 300 to an 8th is. It's history. The first person that does it, that crew chief, they're going to be in the record books. You can go and win Maple Grove and even win the championship. And I know everybody wants that. But there's only going to be one person who's going to hit this milestone. And this is like the last major milestone I think that we're going to see in our lifetimes for Top Fuel, this 300 to the 8th. And we're just days away from this happening. And just think about it. Let me set the stage for you. You ready? You guys ready for this drama? Here comes the drama. You ready? Okay. It's Friday night. It's Maple Grove. Right now, the way the points are, you would have Justin and Steve, right? Torrance racing. They would be the second to last pair, right in front of Brittany and Salinas. And so either, and I'm not saying it could be done before them. Let's face it. Josh is capable. Antron is capable. Antron's team, forget it. They're badass. Nobody wants any piece of them in the countdown of Antron and his driving, Brian and Mark, believe me. But back to my point. Imagine it gets down and nobody has done it yet, and you can have these 4 cars there. You can have Justin's car and Steve's car, and they're both thinking about, well, it's history, and there's 2 good runs we can get in tomorrow. And when those 2 cars leave the starting line, who has the better reaction time during qualifying? Because what if both of them go 300? So who's going to be the first? It would be the one with the better reaction time during qualifying. And then Brittany and Mike are sitting behind them, and Grubnick, he's licking his chops thinking, well, I'm going to be the first one to go 300, but maybe not so fast. So it's a lot of drama. I have to hand it to Jim, Phillips Connect, and Amber, Rob Phillips, all these people. You just say their names like, oh, yeah, no, you tried to give them credit. This is a big deal. I don't want this to be taken lightly. They thought this through, and it is historic. It's a big deal. And kudos to them for stepping up and doing this. I think it's just amazing. And believe me, we want to get that. We want that historic moment for Mike, Tommy, Dustin, Justin, for everybody, and for Phillips specifically for stepping up like that. You guys agree? You think it could be pretty dramatic?
Oh, yes. We talked about it earlier in the show. We expect it to be dramatic. And I think just about everybody is expecting 300 to be claimed this weekend at Maple Grove.
Yeah. I mean, you get the point about like who the reaction time part in qualifying? That could literally be the difference between history. The first one to do it. Let's say even if somebody goes 301 and somebody goes 302, it's the 301 that's going to count if they left the line first because they did it first. Just very interesting. I find it just a lot of drama, very interesting, especially with the backdrop of the countdown. It's just the whole thing is just great. So exciting.
And that's what I think, and have said. I said it there in Indy that I don't think it's just going to be a 3-0, a 300. I said it earlier in the show. I think it's between a 302 and a 305, especially, what we've seen. And like you said, the drama that folds out, let's just say, like you said, Justin and Steve are in the lane and they do it. Does Grubby try and outshoot if he's the last pair? Does he try to, outset that record? How far do we?
He could try all he wants, Grubnick. Let's just say we go out there and do it. Or Steve, that's great. Grubby could try and do it, but really, who cares? It's great. You're part of the club. It'll be like, welcome to the club. You went 2 miles an hour faster, but you're a little late to the party. Because at the end of the day, the first one to do it is the one that counts. Just ask Jim. He's Mr. 300. There's not Mr. 301, Mr. 302, the second guy just ask the second guy who did it. I don't even know who he is. Probably John Force. I don't even know. I only know Jim Epler. He's the one who did it, and he's the one I've known about since I started racing. So that's what I'm talking about, the gravity of the moment. It's so exciting leading up to this.
Right. It's like, who was the second person after Kenny Bernstein? I don't know.
I don't know. Look, for the racers, it's very exciting because everybody wants to be part of this club. Like, look, you're part of the 300 mile an hour club. That's the rest of your life thing. Like, I won Indy. Justin teases me all the time. I know, Dad, you won Indy. Like, he always tease me like that. Right. You got to show the car. Okay. That's cool. I love that car. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so that's back in the day when I was Mike, actually. I'm back to Justin's dad. But it's Justin's dad, right? The thing is, for me, the 300 mile an hour club is exciting from a racer standpoint and a crew chief standpoint to get into, but there's nothing like the first spot. That's the history, baby. That's the bottom line. So I think it'll be exciting. And then we're talking about this, and we have the whole countdown ahead of us with all these, all these cars that are badass, all these drivers that are badass. It's just, I think it's a great time for NHRA and the fans. You see fans starting to turn out. You see a lot of fans. That U.S. Nationals was unbelievable. It was a great turnout of cars, fans. The competition was great. Look, we wanted to win. We expected to win that race, but at the end of the day, What an epic win by Antron. I mean, you look at what they've gone through as a team, the adversity that they've gone through and come back from. I know that team. I formed that team. Okay. And I know what they're capable of. And that's exactly what they're capable of, going through all of that and coming back and winning. They are just, it's just going to be an unbelievable countdown. It really is.
I've said this before, and Lee and Sammy have heard me say this many times. The drag racing fans are living in what should be considered the golden era, because you've never had it so good as you've got it now. You've got drag racing at the click of a mouse. You got drag racing on TV. You got 330 mile an hour race cars. You've got 5-second door slammers. You've got so much to be happy for, and stuff that we didn't have in the 70s. I remember we used to get the National Dragster and have to look in there to see when it was going to come on our TV. A race that had been finished 2 months earlier.
But listen, when I was racing, and that was only 2007, Justin and Mindy, if they didn't come to a race, they would sit around, the computer to hear, Alan Reinhart, just audio only, say, call the race. They couldn't even see it. And I can't tell you, Justin said how many times. He said, then that was unbelievable, but never said who won yet until the very end, and said, that was unbelievable. What a great run. Blah, 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 blah. And then is Mike Ashley won, or this one won. So, it's just to be able to consume content live like this through so many different media, formats, and to have TV the way we have it. Look, listen, right now for Maple Grove, right? This is going to be on Fox Network with a lead-in from an NFL game. That's tremendous for ratings for NHRA, and that's tremendous for all of the incredible marketing partners and sponsors, people who are involved, who have continue to fund these teams, to invest in them, to keep it going. This is going to be very, very big for them in terms of exposure. Let's not forget that these cars take a lot of funding and money to run, and we've got to make sure that we are, as a whole, a worthwhile investment, and that we provide a great return on investment, for our marketing partners. For example, like Phillips. I don't know if anybody really knows this, but Jim is one of the first guys to ever have a hospitality area. He was one of the first guys to do that. He had incredible sponsors, and he always firmly believed that NHRA was a great platform to do business. And I have to tell you, working alongside of him and watching him kind of work his magic and what he's doing, he has brought major companies. I'd rather not say the names of the companies because I'm really not sure if I'm allowed to say them, but they are major companies, major mainstream companies have come to our pit and have been entertained in our hospitality area. And there has been more B2B deals made and opportunities created around the race team at the racetrack. And I like to say it's like a high-speed golf course. That's literally what Jim has been able to do. It's just amazing learning from him. And then, he's leading the charge kind of for Phillips. So putting all these different I'm talking about mega companies that are very, very successful, putting them together to do business with each other, to do business with Phillips, and that this whole thing and how it ties into racing. It's just, NHRA offers such a unique, incredible platform for sponsorship. I think too many of us old school racers maybe go about it the wrong way. I think there's a lot more that we can offer to mainstream sponsors if as a community we could come together and showcase the B2B opportunities that are out there, because a lot of business could be done at the racetrack. That's the truth. And that's what's happening really. And if you come to our hospitality area, it's a combination of entertainment and business. These people come and they are just shocked to watch the crew turn around the car in 55 minutes the way they do. And they are shocked at the sensory experience of the warm-up and the starting line and the competition. And then they are so happy to discuss business and going forward and how we can work together between them and Phillips and other business partners and putting the pieces together. You know, the business side of this is so important, you know, to keep these teams adequately funded. And it's just, I think NHRA, and to Rob Phillips' credit, you know, the CEO of Phillips Connect, he's just an incredible guy. When they had the press conference on Friday, I mean, Sammy, I know you were there and heard him. He just spoke so well about the opportunity that NHRA provides for them to be able to build their business. They are not doing this because they love racing and they're just willing to write the check. It's not happening. They're doing this because they're making money from it. They're doing it because it makes financial sense for them and they love racing. And I should say they're also doing this because they consider Justin a good ambassador for them, which is important for every driver to consider when they're, you know, doing interviews, interacting with people. You know, the driver is the face of the team. So that's very, very important. Justin learned a lot about what he does from Antron. So, yeah, I think it's just been, you know, great. I think that's overlooked a lot in NHRA drag racing, is how great of a business platform is really there to keep these teams funded. I think these teams deserve to be funded much more than they currently are. And I think drivers need to be considered. I think, by the way, interesting, I'd like to get your opinion on this, you guys. I think as it gets tougher and tougher, as these cars become closer and closer matched, I think not only are crew chiefs becoming, their value is going up, and up, but I think drivers become more important now because drivers can make the difference, you know, right on the starting line. You know, sometimes you don't have a couple of hundreds of horsepower, but you got a couple of hundreds of foot power, right? So I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Definitely.
I agree.
Definitely.
I mean,
Go ahead, Sam.
go ahead, Bobby.
I definitely agree that the driver is a very important. You can't have a good driver and a not so good crew chief for it to work. You have to have a good crew chief and a good driver, and they all have to mesh. And without the whole team, it's just a whole team experience.
Look, Bobby, I completely agree with you. I think the crew chief and the team, they make Justin look good. That's true. I agree 100%. But I also think that likewise, Justin has to do his job, you know, and he's not going to always do his job. And that goes for every driver because everybody's just human and you just try and do the best. The only thing you can do is do the best you can every time. But things happen. We've seen it happen across from our 4-time world champ, Steve Torrance, who was amazing. And that team has just accomplished incredible things. And you can even see him. He's human from time to time, rarely human, mostly incredible. But you know, again, for me, I think when you look at NFL football, you've got quarterbacks that are getting paid X and then quarterbacks getting paid 25% of X because they're able to perform the way they are. And I think drivers need to be looked at the same way. And I think the same thing with crew chiefs and coaches, the same way, you know, and I think as these classes become more and more competitive, I think that's the way you're going to start to see their value. And I think that our value proposition as a whole, as a sport, as a community, we need to do a better job at displaying that to mainstream America. And when we do that, I think everybody across the board, this whole thing changes. I don't think it's, you know, I think, you know, NASCAR, I mean, whatever, fine. NASCAR is great. But at the end of the day, you can't talk to the drivers. You can't go to see the crew. You can't have that one-on-one experience. You can't be right up on top of things. It's so much of a better experience for NHRA, you know? And it's our job to make sure that we convey that value to the public so that we can get the entertainment value that we're supposed to get in general for the entire sport so that can filter down to the teams. That's the way I see it.
Well, speaking of the experience and speaking of business, you oftentimes have commented right here on the show in the comment section about, well, betting in the NHRA. And later on this year, the Carolina Nationals, we've got the Betway Carolina Nationals. And I just checked, Betway actually isn't even in North Carolina. Maybe they're advancing there. They don't even have NHRA drag racing listed as something they can bet on. But it's a good start of possibly seeing that come into our sport with Betway coming on board. How important do you think it would be, Mike Ashley, to have that a part of the sport? We'd like to hear you voice it and not just comment it.
Listen, the bottom line is this, that when you look at the elements of our sport, right, it's instant gratification. And that's great for people who gamble. Because instead of having to wait for, like in NASCAR to finish or whatever, you can bet on qualifying runs, reaction times. You can bet on smoking the tires. You can bet on like parlay bets on different classes. And it's instant gratification where you can bet. And that's what gamblers want. They want to get gratification as quick as they possibly can. That the answer. And so I think similar to horse racing, we should have gambling for NHRA drag racing. And I think that would do two things. First, that would pull in a huge new demographic that loves to gamble, and they would love to gamble on racing instead of gambling on, let's say, football or this or that, which they might still gamble on. But now they have something new to gamble on, which is NHRA drag racing. So I think we bring in a whole different demographic. I also think we would get a percentage of whatever, some kind of vig off the top for whatever the purse is, and all of a sudden we would have purses where every race is racing for $500,000 or $1 million, like a lot of money on the line, and the teams would have the opportunity to be much better funded. To me, if we can get gambling behind this sport, we are going to ascend. The velocity, the speed with which we're going to ascend is going to be much faster than anything else, in my opinion, because people are going to look for us. They're going to want to bet on us, of course, promoted properly. I think that is the thing that is going to take us to the next level. Let's face it. Everybody wants to bet on football. Everybody wants to bet on all these other sports. Like, why are we lagging behind? Why are we not right in the front when we're like really viable for sports betting? We should be out front.
I agree with you. I mean, I was just having this conversation last night with a buddy in the shop, just kind of, talking about it. You see all these new betting for football or for all these major sports. How do we do that? And then I think with what we just saw with the Pep Boys call out, I mean, and you mentioned Steve Torrance, and I quoted him on Twitter, and, he said it. He said, "We may not have won the race, but we don't look so stupid now. We're going home with the money." How you like that, big dog? I mean, it's that atmosphere. I mean, when we throw it in there, there's something to shoot for. And like you mentioned, I mean, it brings a whole new demographic to the sport. And that's the way we continue to make it grow.
I agree. We need that additional demographic. We need that big purse. All of that matters. You win a race and you win even just $250,000 to win the race. That matters. That makes a difference. But the money's got to come from somewhere, and you provide entertainment value. Part of entertainment is gambling, and there a significant number of Americans gamble. And instead of gambling on the same old thing, they'd be able to gamble on something with instant gratification. The cars come up, they race each other. There's a winner, there's a loser. You win or you lost. Go to the next race and bet on the next round, just like horse racing. I love it. I think it would be. We should have done this years ago. Yeah, right. Exactly. I see this comment. It's true. Just go into the stands. They're all betting each other in the stands. I got the right lane, I got left lane, I got this one, I got that, whatever. They're all doing it anyway. So to me, you might as well legalize it and put it out there. 16-1 odds ain't as good as 50-50. But I hear you.
Guys, speaking of a gamble, when you're Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I want you to think and look to the heavens and say thank you, because competitionplus.com will turn 23 years old at 8 p.m.
Oh, wow.
on Thursday. And that was a gamble I wouldn't have gambled 20 cents on us making it, but here we are killing it.
Well, I'm proud of you. Listen, what's a good example, Bobby, for you to, it's a good example to say is that everything is possible. Anything. Nobody should ever hem in their dreams, because if you're willing to put in the work and do what it takes, I'm living proof of that. My son is living proof of that. I know Jim. I know plenty of people that are living proof of that. If you're willing to do what it takes and to put in the work and put in the time and to do things the right way, and you have unconditional faith in God, God will bless you in all you do. You just go the distance, and you'll be sitting here like Bobby Bennett all these years later, celebrating that he has Competition Plus, Slam and Sammy, Monday Morning Race Elite, me, everybody on this broadcast here, and his mega successful CompetitionPlus.com magazine. So, Bobby, also, I think, you should interview and talk to these crew chiefs to see their feeling on this major milestone, on this 8th mile deal. I think, think about it. If you were a crew chief, Lee, wouldn't it be pretty cool for you? Wouldn't you be thinking about having your name etched in those history books?
Sure, definitely. To be the first to what is effectively going to be the last mile per hour increment, for sure.
That's right. I mean, I can't imagine, it's going to be a big deal to go to the 330. 300
Right.
to 330.
You do know you have a tuner that was responsible for one milestone in your team there, don't you, Mike?
What's that? Tommy. He's the first one to go in the threes.
Right.
Tommy
right.
Galago is incredible. And let me tell you, when I talk about how great I think our team is, and it's not, and again, I just want to reinforce this, it's not to brag, because the NHRA community in general, all the teams, really, really, the majority of them are good people, really good people. Just look, when somebody has a problem, everybody rallies to help them. But our team, you got Mike Green, who's totally cerebral, incredibly intelligent and experienced with what he does, and does a great job. And then you got Tommy, who's like, listen, we're going for it. Tommy's the guy that's like, we're going for it. This thing's got more in it. We can do this, we can do that. And Tommy's the guy who's like, he's like an inventor. He's always thinking about new ways to do things. And he just brings so much energy, to the team. Mike's got great energy too, but everybody has different energy. And Tommy's energy is just really, really good. And I'm sure you guys coming around our pits, you can feel that from him. And even before he was even involved with us, Tommy's just an all-around, great guy, great asset to the team all the way around for so many different reasons.
I can agree with you, but I've got a question for you, Mike. I mean, the new schedule just got dropped out here in Indy. How do you feel about that? And especially bringing back the Chicago race. I mean, how do you feel about everything that's going on with the schedule, the new layout, but then with, having some of these traditional tracks, that were on the schedule get added back?
So there's a couple of things. First of all, I think it was good to bring Chicago back. Okay. I mean, I think that's a great facility, and I'm glad that Chicago is back. But a lot of people don't agree with my point of view. My point of view is there's too many races, period. Right now, effectively, we have a couple of swings. We have a Western swing right away in the beginning of the season, right? We go to Gainesville, then we have a Western swing right then. Right after that, right? Because after Gainesville, I think we're going to go to Vegas, right? Pomona, Vegas, and Arizona, right? In some order like that, right away. So that's in effect like a Western swing, right there. I just think there's too many races right now, and I think it's very, very taxing on the teams and on the crews at this particular juncture, as it relates to being able to, raise the money and funding for these teams. For me, I think 18 races is better. That's my opinion. I think an 18 race season is enough. I don't think you need to go to some of these tracks twice. I think you need to be more efficient in how you plan the schedule. And of course, considering what else is going on climate-wise and what's going on sports-wise to make sure that you have good attendance. But I just think less races would be better. That's my personal opinion. But I know others, don't agree with me on that, but everybody's entitled to their opinion, and that's my opinion. I think less would be more in this specific instance. So we have 21 races next year. We'll be racing all of them, thank God, and thanks to Phillips. And Guys like Chip Lofton, by the way, who, thanks to him, we're even racing all together. Here's a guy who's helped more people to make their dreams come true. He'll tell everybody the same thing. I'm not the guy that can take you all the way, but I'm the guy who can get you started. If you can do something for yourself, for me getting you started, and then keep going, then I'm your guy. And for me, Chip's our sponsor on our team. He'll be involved with our team, a friend, brother, family member, whatever you want to call him, forever. Because he's just, just been a great guy. He's a founding team member, Chip. So yeah, back to the point about the schedule. I think less is better. I don't know. What do you think, Bobby?
I agree with you. Wholeheartedly. And I think that when people compare the golden era, so-called golden era, it had less races.
Yeah. I think less races
that just makes the heart grow fonder, right?
I just think it's not even that much of an absence. 16 or 18 races, a lot of races. You got to remember, it's from March to November. That's a lot of racing in that period of time. I think it's enough. I think we need to look at more quality over quantity. And when I say quality, I mean investing in promoting those races to the mainstream, America, and getting ourselves out there. Like when I talk to people and they say to me, yeah, like those cars on Discovery Channel that race on the street. I'm like, no, not like those cars. That's not what we do. Okay. And so for me, the fact that they're getting more traction than we are, it means that we've got to just do a better job as a community. And we can't point fingers and say, well, NHRA should do a better job. Forget NHRA. That's the playground that we're playing in. We need to do a better job together, all of us, at figuring out how to do this thing, tackle it once and for all, and stop talking about it. We need to figure out a way to raise our entertainment value, which means we've got to be more, our entertainment value is there, but we've got to have more viewers, more engagement with different level of demographics. So that's, for me, that's where gambling comes in.
Just think if we could have got hashtag fix flip fuel on the Discovery Channel or something like that, or the John Force, the driving force, how crucial that was. I mean, that's the reason why the street outlaws and those guys are taking off, because the reality show atmosphere. And if we had that in our community, we'd be taking off.
Right. Look, if you told me like this, Lee, if you told me every time you go to a race, you make money, then I would say make it 30 races. Who cares? But the problem is that the funding value, the entertainment value, has not caught up yet with the expense. Let's face it. That's why you had 25 cars show up at Indy, because they picked the one race they could afford. They said, you know what? Might as well go to Indy. But if they could afford to run, or ask any of them, if they all had the sponsorship, they'd be at 30 races. That's the bottom line. And that's where we have to take a good look at ourselves and say, look, there are teams out there. And I think one of them is, and I think there's a lot of them. I know for sure one of them is ours, where we're effectively working on B2B relationships. And that's, again, thanks to Jim and Phillips and the angle that they brought and his understanding of NHRA's inner workings and understanding of NHRA. But in general, I think less races is what's going to be more effective. That's my opinion.
All right. Well, folks, look, we're getting towards the top of the clock, near 11 p.m. Eastern time.
Oh my God, I'm 2 hours late for bed.
Right, Mike. I know. We got to get you to bed.
I'm an old guy. I'm an old guy. Old. This guy's old. I should be sleeping by now.
Look,
any final thoughts, Mike?
Any final thoughts? I told Joe this, but I think that these cars there is got to be an overall strategy, winning strategy in general. And I think everything counts, so I think, for example, I think lane choice is important. Do you guys think lane choice is important? Yeah, I think it's important in most racetracks. Oh, yeah. Well, look, I think when you stage the car, right, where you stage matters, right? Because if you stage it deep, you're going to have what? A slower ET.
Or ET.
What? You're going to have a slower ET, which is going to what? Which is going to give you less of a chance of having lane choice. But what are you going to have better? You're going to have a better reaction time. Because when you put it in deep, right, you're closer to the beam. So your reaction time is going to look good, but the ET is not going to look good. So it's so all of a sudden it's like, for example, like I think some of Brittany's runs, she didn't run a 70. She didn't. She ran a 67 or a 68. That's the truth of the matter. She just was in deeper. Her reaction time looked really good. ET was a little slower. That's it. That's, and for me, I think that these little things matter. I think it's going to make the difference if you have lane choice at a specific track, and you can still cut a good light and you put it in shallow. I think that matters. I think being able to control your emotions, and, from a crew chief perspective and not feeling like, being overwhelmed with the moment of where you are in the points or having to win a round or, having to race against this person who you think is really, can run really fast. Like people think, when you run Grubnik, oh my God, it's like, we're not scared of Grubnik. I mean, who's scared of, seriously? I mean, yeah, he runs good once in a while. He runs good here and there. But in general, believe me, we're not scared of Grubnik at all. I mean, why are you laughing, Bobby? We're not.
I'm just
People just using you guys are talking about him. Grubnik. Listen, I'll take Mike Green and Tommy DeLago any day of the week. They know how to race. That's the bottom line, so for me, it's like, whoever can control their emotions and just keep everything the same every time. People talk about the countdown. Like, what are you going to do different in the countdown? Lee, you think people should do things different in the countdown?
You should have it already figured out by now. Keep doing what you're doing.
Well, I don't know about you, but here's the way I feel about it. I don't remember a single round of racing that we didn't want to run the fastest we possibly could and win. So what's different about the countdown? You tell me. What race did we go to say, this race, we don't need to win it. Let's just get out of here with first round loss. I mean, so at the end of the day, all the hype about the countdown, smeltdown, blah, blah, it's all bullshit. At the end of the day, you want to win every round that you race. End of story, even qualifying. Every round. And the only thing you're racing is not the person in the other lane. You're racing that black strip in front of you, the racetrack. That is what you're racing. And anybody who thinks anything else, they're wrong. You just want to go down that track as fast as you can, leave the starting line as fast as you can. You're in your own lane. You're competing against only yourself. That's it. Nothing else. And the people that can keep that in their mind, in my mind, are going to win the whole thing. That's what I think. So that's my 2 cents.
Mike, you asked what I was smirking about over here. And I was thinking, man, he's saying Brittany Force, but I'm thinking that I heard that same kind of line back in 1990 when it came to Ronnie Sox, came to Ed Hoover, Blake Wiggins.
Well, hold on. I just want to make sure I'm straight about this. I want to get this straight. We are absolutely as a team, unfazed and unafraid of anybody. Remember that. But we respect everybody. But we'd be stupid not to. You think, but that's the truth of the matter. You think Brian Karate and Mark Oswald, those are the last guys you want to race. Trust me, I know them. Okay, and Antron, and Josh's team, and Phil and Salinas' team, and Bobby and Hogan. I mean, who wants to race these people? We respect them all. We respect them all. But believe me when I tell you, let this register in your heart. We are not afraid of anybody at any time at all. I'll take Mike Green, Tommy DeLago, and Justin Ashley and that crew and Dustin Davis over anybody, period. So that's why I wish it was gambling, because I'd be gambling on it right now. But that's the truth of the matter. That's the way I feel about it. And we got the best sponsors too. We're lucky. And I'm not saying it just to plug them. I'm saying it because it's true. These guys at Phillips and Jim and Sue's wife, Susan's amazing. It's just a well-run organization. The way they have like Amber and the people that they bring out to the track and the way they run everything is just, for me, to watch their execution. It's just really masterful, honestly. And it's a great experience that they give to their business partners. And it just follows after the racetrack, which has been really good for us. So thank God we were able to renew. Yeah, it's true. What this guy is saying, Mark Oswald does not get the credit he deserves. You're right. Mark doesn't do any talking, but he does a shitload of work behind the scenes. He really does. He is really critical. It's everybody. They're all critical to the team. They got a great team over there.
And we have just went through the first session of the Mike Ashley Drag Racing School. So if you need confidence, if you need someone to talk to before you get on the track, boom, there it is. Like that's a motivation speech within itself. And I mean, yeah.
It's the facts. I mean, I didn't say anything.
They're not
motivation. There was nothing motivational. I don't care about motivation. Motivation's dead the minute you have a problem. It's just a facts. But I gave you the facts. That's it. So that's the way we feel about it. We're excited about it. And we feel totally blessed and respect everybody. We expect to win every single round. That's it. Period. You can stick the microphone in my face and say you didn't win this round and say, okay, but we still expected to win it. That's the fact. All right.
Mike, we need to let you go to bed.
Yeah, heck yeah. I got to go to bed. Are you kidding me? Maybe that's my bedtime. I have to set my alarm for tomorrow morning to wake up later now. I used to wake up like 6 a.m. Now I'm going to have to wake up like later. My whole day is going to be later. I'm all going to be like in Jewish, it's verkakt. It's crazy. I'm going to be like all messed up now.
I'll call you at 4 a.m. and wake you up, Mike.
Yeah, Bobby. Okay. 4 a.m. Bobby.
Mike, look, thank you for your perspective. Thank you for coming on the show, man.
Thank you for having me on. I love you guys. You guys doing a great job. I'm so proud of all of you guys. Lee, I've seen you come so long with your deal. And, Bobby, I know him since forget about it. But Sammy, too, you guys doing a great job. Thank you for having me on, all right?
Hey, we're glad to have you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we're going to let Mike go. And we got one last segment to look at and hurry up with.
Goes back to just seeing my name on the entry list. That's when I felt like, hey, I made it. There's a lot of greats out here, a lot of great talent, great people I've admired my whole life watching race, and to see my name even close to those guys, dream come true. It's almost indescribable. Like I said, it's what you dream about. Like, I couldn't have painted this picture any better.
Well, the Fresh Prince of Drag Air, or the genuine Will Smith, he living out a dream. Yes, you can see the full episode on the CompetitionPlus.com YouTube channel. Go there, watch it, subscribe to the channel. But I didn't want to end the show tonight without showing that segment. Congratulations, Will. Bobby, Sam, I think that with him showing up to Indy with Larry Dixon, his first time in Top Fuel, and doing it with that throwback, and that throwback done right, and showing everyone how to do throwback, and that it's actually not that hard in the NHRA. There's so much, even though they didn't qualify, and though they were close, even though they didn't qualify, there's so much about what Will and Larry and that team did this past, two weekends ago. So good. So good.
100% a statement. I mean, came out and made a statement. Will, I if people saw me, I was on the little bike on the GT, see me rolling around in the pits, but that was 100% a statement. And it was a statement done right. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't trying to be, hey, look at us. We're the new, we've done this. We're the new kids on the block. No, they came out and they had fun, and they made an honest statement and just said, you know what? And to put it in a better sense is exactly what Ron Cap said. when he was at the top end after he won. And he said, kids, don't ever quit dreaming. If you want to do something, keep going. If you want to try to accomplish something, keep going. And then it brought, honestly, a lot of racing people to tears. But that what Ron said in that moment of, hey, keep going, keep believing, keep trying, is exactly what Will is being a testament to for every kid out there, for every person that ever was told no before, told, this isn't feasible or you can't do this. Will came out and made a 100% statement with that. And I mean, I hate to mesh those two together, but like, if you're going to wrap it up like that, those two go hand in hand.
Can't say it any better.
Yes.
Couldn't say it any better, guys. It's been a pleasure to share the stage with you tonight. Just remember, 8 o'clock on Thursday night. Thank the good Lord above. 23 years. I wouldn't have given us 23 minutes to make it. But here
Congrats,
we are.
man.
Hey, it's all of us. You guys included. You're all part of the team here.
Bobby, look, how about we let you check out and you can go to sleep too.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Bobby. Well, Sam, we've had another good episode here of the Competition Plus Power Hour. Learned about a new sanctioning body. We've talked to U.S. Nationals. We talked to Mike Ashley and got a lot of great information there. And we've fluked ahead of the Maple Grove. What else, man?
Lee, pro stock. We got to go back to this here really quick.
Here we go.
No, because I like I said. But is Glenn, is he going to be able to keep up this 00?
I think
is that sustainable over his career, or is that something that we're seeing just for right now?
I think it is sustainable over a long portion of his career. But Greg Anderson said something on either Joe Costello's WFO Radio, which is another place you all in the drag racing world need to be following, or he said it in the post-media conference after the win. He mentioned that with
or on
age,
West Buck Show.
It might have been West Buck Show. You know what? West Buck Shows, WFO, oh, just follow them all. You need to follow them all, support all of them. Anyway, he mentioned that you just get older and your mind becomes clouded with so many things. You're just not quite as able to go up there and cut a light. Go back earlier in Greg Anderson's career, and people were talking about the lights he was cutting. And not that Erica has slipped dramatically, but if you looked and probably on an average in a curve, maybe they're just slightly slower than what they were in the earliest part of her career. I think there's something to that. Just not age and slowing, but age and more responsibility, more cares, and more burdens weighing on the mind to block it out and focus in that moment. I think that may be something in time, but I think he's going to have a long career of doing it. And you mentioning a KB car, yeah, they're not out of this. I know Erica built one heck.
Whoa.
But that's been wiped out. They're not out of this.
Hey, we're not talking about we're saving that talk till next week. Okay?
Oh, okay.
Congratulations, Greg. Congratulations.
You just hope you have a whole week and someone can win and it helps make your point seem a little bit more favorable. That's what that is.
Now. I'm just saying, I want this 100 to sink in.
Y'all know I'm right. Y'all out there, the viewing audience, you know I'm right on that one.
Why? Because you think that I think that KB's out of it?
Yes.
I think the KB cars technically are peaking at the right time. Since you want to say you're right, do I think that they're peaking at the right time? Yeah.
You better think they're peaking at the right time.
But the boots are on the ground. The corral boots have been corralled up.
Look, I think I would not be shocked.
Elite HP is not hurting for parts.
I would not be shocked that the corral boots do some walking and it's even this very weekend.
And people can say what they want, but when it comes down to the countdown, we're all a team. It's all team bit. As Marshawn Lynch would say, it's town business, boss.
That's right. Look, if you're out there and you are counting out either of the Wdra boys in any way, shape, form, or fashion, you do not need to do that. Me and Sam witnessed the last World Door Slammer Nationals down there at Orlando, who were in the final, and they went through the biggest names that Pro Stock had to offer in that field. And then very next week, Gator Nationals, who chopped the tree and took out Erica Enders round one of the Wdra boys. Look, do not count them out. And now they're getting tuning expertise along with fire horsepower, tuning expertise from Elite, fire horsepower with their ability to drive. Could very well be tough.
Lee, all I'm saying is that it's a team effort, and sometimes people can say it's a layup, some people can say it's a slam dunk, some people can say whatever it is. But when it comes down to it, like I said, in the great words of Marshawn Lynch, that town business, boss. And if you get caught in that situation where maybe you have to take that layup or whatever it is, guess what? I'm just here so I don't get fined.
There you go. Hey.
All right. Before we leave, there's two more.
I'm not done yet either.
Things.
There's more to highlight. We need a longer show tonight. I'm tired. You're tired. Everybody's tired. But there's a whole lot more to talk about. Maple Grove has got a lot going on for it.
Hey, so first of all, one more thing from the U.S. Nationals, then I want to fast forward. What did you think about what? And I said it earlier. What did you think about what Steve Torrance said after winning the money?
Well, one, I am surprised they honestly didn't win the U.S. Nationals. If you remember, I kind of have routinely, ever since we kind of saw, okay, their performance is there, but it's like they're not aiming to get the whole shebang. I'm like, okay, watch them go into Indy, win it all. They did it 1 week earlier, but they did pick up the money. And they showed on that weekend, hey, we're here to play. And they also, remember, just this week, earlier this week, there was a tweet, there was a Facebook post, there was an Instagram post, I believe, put out by Steve Torrance, his social media, that, hey, people need to be paying attention. And I personally will not be shocked if that team jumps up and runs the table and is a team that is a semifinal finalist and winning team for the next 6 races that we have. I will not be shocked.
I mean, you never know what you're going to get from Steve on the top end. You never do. But what he said, I don't think there was anything wrong there. I mean, you may have counted us out. You may say we're down and out, but we may look stupid, but we just won the money. What's up now, big dog? Like, I mean, and then to go into it, I mean, just like Mike Ashley said, there is no easy round in Top Fuel.
No.
I mean, every round in the U.S. Nationals was every round, the bump spot, everything was someone who was winning a race any other weekend, So, I mean, I just like that. But
hey, speaking of Top Fuel, before we move on, shout out to Dan Mercier. They qualified for the U.S. Nationals. I doubt anyone had them picked. I had Krista Baldwin and Will Smith as those individuals that aren't usual ones racing week in and week out to be in that field. Dan Mercier out of Quebec, Canada, they showed up and they made the U.S. Nationals. Kudos to them.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I agree with you there. I like that. But fast forward to this race coming up. I want to give a shout out to my friend, my homeboy. I want to give a shout out to Travis Shoemake and what he's doing with Sheets. I believe that's how you say it correctly, Sheets.
Yes,
what's
it's Sheets.
Yeah, I think that's
Have
awesome.
You been
the
to
people
a
that
Sheets?
he's probably have, man. Like all these different gas stations everywhere I go, it's unreal.
Well, I mentioned this on my show Thursday night, and yes, props to Travis bringing in another marketing partner. And Drag Racing Central, he mentioned it in the show here. Hey, we're going to mention Travis Shoemaking. And yes, we are, because it's a brand. And Drag Racing Central mentioned this on my show. He's like, wow, a brand that I know about, that the average Joe knows about. And I thought that was an interesting observation, because let's take some of the, well, okay, here's an example. Julie, I'm not sure what OTC is, honestly. I'd have to go do some diving and some research.
I don't know, but it's always in the winner's circle, so
It is. But honestly, I'm not exactly sure. But Sheets, I do know what that is. And they come in, they got a cool looking wrap, and Travis is going to have a cool fire suit and a cool helmet, and they've got a ticket offer, and they're not just doing one race, they're doing Maple Grove and the Betway Carolina Nationals as well, because their region is basically Pennsylvania and in the Carolinas and a little bit in New York and so on, and they're expanding. They're a great convenience store chain, but it is cool to see a brand that I, as an individual, as a consumer, recognize and know and understand and can go participate, unlike some of these other brands that we see, because, well, I mean, what are they talking about? Or like their machinist fluid. Like, I'm not using machinist fluid anytime soon. You know what I'm getting at?
I do. I mean, I think he's doing great things. I got a pretty great chance to speak with him over the U.S. Nationals weekend, as we got some time to hang out and talk and BS. But great guy, great ambassador of the sport. I mean, no matter which way you look at it, no matter what's going on, I mean, just he's moving the needle forward, and that's what we need. But Lee, do you see that picture?
Yes.
Wow, be happy. I saw you. I have a picture of you and Darren standing up in the bird's nest way up there.
Oh, you do?
Yep.
Congratulations.
You guys, Lee was very antisocial at the U.S. Nationals. I rode up to him and said hi, and Lee goes, "Oh, hi," with attitude, fierce.
Hey,
the man was hungry. He needed a Snickers and a Gatorade.
I was working. Thank you.
So was I.
I was working.
Right. Anywho,
up and down that drag strip, trying to catch Pro Mod and Mountain Motor Pro Stock action, which you can catch on the Monday Morning Racer channel, and the finals of all of the pro classes.
Yes, and if you want interviews from the #1 qualifier and the winner, Johnny Placino, you can head over to my page, tagged with the limo guy at large, Real Pro Stock, the Mountain Motor Maniac. I did their interviews that weekend there at the U.S. Nationals, so that was always fun. Congratulations to Johnny Placino, man. If you haven't seen that interview with him, I kind of threw him to the fire and asked him, is he the real deal in Mountain Motor, or, you know, is anyone doubting him? And he straightforward came with some little trash talk. Congratulations to LB, Lyle Barnett, winning Pro Mod. I mean, getting back on the horn, and the trash talk continues.
Man, so many good stories out of the U.S. Nationals for sure. And speaking of Johnny Placino, Thursday night, my show, Between the Slicks, 8 p.m., going to have a YouTube roundup, and then we will roll into questions with our guests. It's going to be Johnny Placino. We're going to be talking with him. Be talking about that U.S. Nationals win, but also remember, he's the points leader in PDRA competition in Extreme Pro Stock, and they only have 2 more races left. And somebody is still vying to be the first to the 3s in Extreme Pro Stock.
There's just a lot. I mean, we're driving the needle forward. Dorshammer Racing's going good. Top Fuel, Funny Car, everything. So if you are liking what you're seeing in drag racing right now, remember, you can be a part of it. Click like, click share. If you see one of your friends post this content, please like and share. Keep driving that needle forward. To Bobby Bennett, to Mike Ashley, the WDRA organization, keep liking and sharing that content. Monday Morning Racer, the Amish bearded guy with the sunglasses, keep liking and sharing his content, my content that is coming out. Please like, share, and just follow us all and move the needle forward. To American Hot Rod ENT, that's another one that you guys need to follow. Joe Costella, WFO, and Drag Illustrated. Who else am I forgetting, Lee?
Brian Wagner. Brian Wagner, Dragzine, the Dragzine podcast.
Yes, Dragzine podcast. You guys need to go and follow all these people and like and share and let's
Going Bracket Racing,
forward.
those boys. If you are into bracket racing, you need to follow Going Bracket Racing.
Yes, support the people that support the sport that you love. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. But I just heard Alan Reinhardt say, and that is all, folks, tonight. The body panels have blown off of this show. Safety Safari is on their way.
Parachute is out.
And we are going to go home, back to the shop, wrap a new body, and come back here next Tuesday night and speak to you guys all about drag racing. Lee, shut her down.
Guys, thank you all for watching. This has been the Competition Plus Power Hour. God bless. Keep the pedal to the metal. All brought to you by Weldon Pumps, Holly Performance, and remember to get those Scotty Cannon t-shirts.
Classic car owners, make your headlights over twice as bright with Holley Retro Bright LED headlights. A plug-in replacement for those dim halogen seal beams, Retro Bright maintains that classic look and lasts 6 times longer. Stay safe and click the link below to learn more.